Happy Wednesday, folks. Welcome back to Art of the City. We are having a fabulous day here, live streaming from San Diego, California. And this is week 2 of Indian Market, what would be Indian Market, which is now being turned into a virtual platform. So I am so honored and proud to be bringing on, in the month of August, in honor of Indian Market, some of the top natives in all categories of creativity. So today we have an amazing culinary artist coming on, but we've also had painters, we have sculpture artists coming on this week, musicians, dancers, so many different talented folks, all coming from Indian country, meaning that all of these folks are native like myself. So I hope that you're able to tune in throughout the week, because we're going to have just so many more exciting people coming on. But today I have a rather special treat, because this lady has really impacted Indian country in probably one of the most important ways, and that is in the area of the culinary arts. Food in our culture, as all cultures, are one of those things that we inherited from our ancestors. And a lot of the movement now is to go back to the land, to practice what we call food sustainability. And what that means is just really going back to the way that our ancestors would harvest food and would handle food and would prepare it. And this is what our chef today is going to show us. And actually, she's been so kind that she's going to give us a cooking demo. But she has also won some pretty major awards. She's live streaming out of Santa Fe, New Mexico. So this would be a time for her with Indian Market. She'd be absolutely swamped. And I'm sure we're going to hear a little bit more about how the impact of things changing and being shut down, how that's affected her business. But she's also has this couple of beautiful cookbooks. So I'm going to let her share that. But she has won the James Beard Award for her cookbook. And her name is Lois-Ellen Frank. So let me see if I can get Lois-Ellen to come on live streaming here. Let's see here. It takes a second sometimes to bring them up into this. Okay, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. And Chef Walter Whitewater is going to be filming when we do the food demo. We work together. Walter's from the Dene Navajo community, and I am Kiowa Nation and Sephardic on my dad's side.
Fabulous. So you may want to have him mute his volume so that we don't get the background noise there.
It's off.
Is it off? Okay. Sometimes we just get that. So hopefully as the show goes on, we won't be hearing the echo. And I might be the only one hearing it on my end.
Okay.
But share a little bit with the viewer, how you became a chef and a little bit about your background being a Native woman.
So, yeah, I think from the time I was a small little girl, my mom had a garden and we started to sell at the end of the block in a rural area. And I noticed that the zucchini and the carrots weren't selling as well. So I went home and I made some carrot bread and zucchini bread and brought these little loaves to the end of the block, and they flew off our little table, my brother, my sister, and I. And I realized that if you take something like raw produce and you make it into something, it has value, but it also has the love and the wisdom of our ancestors and all of what my mom taught me growing up. And so I fell in love with cooking, and all throughout high school started experimenting, and then went to culinary school. And I'm going to give away my age, good thing, bad thing. But in the late 1970s, when I graduated high school, women were not really, they hadn't crossed the culinary gender line into a commercial kitchen.
Sure.
The European model for cooking is based on a very Eurocentric French outline. Escoffier set up a brigade system, and that system is still the line, what we call the line, still in commercial kitchens. And women were not a part of this guild system. And that's sort of ironic, because in Native tradition, the matrilineal line. Even in Judaism, we follow the mother's side.
Right.
And so I thought it was really interesting to be told by some of the men chefs that I would never be an executive chef or a chef owner. And, you know, for those of you out there that have seen the movie Julia and Julie, if you remember, Julia Childs went to school in France, and she went home and practiced cutting onions all night so she could have this big pile of onions and do the same thing as a man. I
Right.
think what I've realized now is that we need both genders, and we need the balance of the way women handle stress and how we approach things with how men approach things. And men are physically stronger, so they can lift those heavy stock pots, but women can do other things and handle stress in different ways. So it really is a perfect yin yang circle when we have both genders in the kitchen. And I think that's really important. And I've always tried to follow that and be sensitive to women, especially ethnic women in the kitchen, as well as men. And it's a great time for women to go into cooking and want to cook and be a chef, not with COVID, but just in general. So we're doing a lot of live Zooms and things like that. But
Well, you just touched on something. I mean, the analogy that you just brought forth could really be pushed out in almost every sector in this country with the equality between men and women. And I love the way you put it, that it isn't a matter of one is better than the other. It's just that the two genders bring different things to the table. And I think that's something that in indigenous society, like in our culture as Luiseño, the women were really we ran the government. We were involved in every area of industry because the men would go out and be hunter gatherers, and a lot of them didn't come back. So it was a matter of just, survival for the community, if you will.
Yeah. So it's for me, it's always been about that balance of bringing what I can bring, and then bringing, what a male can bring, and working together. And I think Walter and I, encompass that. And as a male Native American chef, he had to cross gender lines too. In
Sure.
his community, men don't cook; only women cook. He grew up
Interesting.
very, very traditional. And so when he wanted to cross over and cook, I think some of the aunties and his grandma was horrified, horrified. And when he became a role model, he was one of the first Native American men to cross the gender line the other way, right? I crossed into a commercial kitchen. He
Right.
crossed from an ethnic kitchen into a commercial kitchen. And now he's a role model for young Native men to be able to go into a commercial kitchen, and cook and handle food. And we're starting to see a younger generation come forward. And that's really exciting. I think we want to pass this on. We want to be able to teach. I always say that, we want to feed the body, but we also want to nurture the soul. And
Yes.
cooking is about sustenance, it's about feeding the body, but it is about nurturing the soul. And we have this policy at Red Mesa, we call it leave it at the door. And everybody has problems, we all have problems. And so
Right.
when you walk through the door, whatever problems you have, you leave, so that when you touch the food, it's pure. And we call in the ancestors, we use sweetgrass, we use the drum, we use the element of song, because all of those spirits go into the food. And then when you eat that, that is feeding the body, but nurturing the soul. And it's in everything we do. So it's pretty cool.
That makes me hungry. I want to come and be fed in your kitchen now.
I want you to come out. Next time you come out, we'll have you over.
Oh my
So,
gosh, that's so amazing. So, tell us a little bit about how you started your restaurant. So, you trained in
so
Europe.
no, I actually trained in New York. And
Okay.
we don't have a restaurant. We just do catering. And we don't just cater, for corporate events or private events. I think a big thing that we have, and I would encourage all of you, go on the website, read our mission, read about who we are. But, for instance, um, we want to take these skills and not just feed people that can afford great meals, which that's a perfect client, right? But
Right.
we also want to educate cooks that are cooking in the senior centers, on our pueblos, on our reservations, in our tribes. We want to train the native cooks in the Head Start programs. We want to work with casinos and get some of those indigenous foods on the menu. And so we work with the New Mexico Department of Health. We work with the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. And we really take the ancestral foods and then we feed tons of people, but we also want to make native communities and help train cooks and chefs in native communities so that they're self-sufficient, so that they can feed their own people. Maybe some of the recipes have been forgotten, or that knowledge, that TEK, right, that traditional ecological knowledge is broken or lost. And so we want to revitalize that. We want to invigorate that. We want to really make sure that we can pass on. And the beauty is that in each native community, every native community gets to decide what's indigenous to their community. Your community is different than my community. You know, we can show some overall, like the pan-Indian taco, or we do no fry bread because we don't want the lard, we don't want the oil, the grease. But you know, what can we do that's sort of in every tribe? But then how can we specialize this? I know, you know, different foods grow in different areas, and we really help develop recipes catered to each specific community that can help to perpetuate those traditional foods. And for health and wellness, we want everyone in our communities to be healthy and well. We don't want to see diabetes. We don't want to see heart
That's
disease.
what I was going to ask you. Is
We
I
don't
know
want to
that,
see obesity. We got to go back to those ancestral foods for health and wellness.
and that was what I was going to ask you, is if part of your mission obviously is to share the culture and to be able to make sure that that doesn't go away, and the stories and the food that's been passed down. But also you just touched upon what, you know, is really important to me is the health benefit, making sure that we know how to, you know, bring that good food into our bodies so that we have a longevity of health.
Right.
So I
And
think
so
that's fabulous.
that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to do something beautiful yet simple, nutritious, delicious, easy to make. And if you're ready, I'm going to walk into the kitchen.
Let's do it. And I'm gonna minimize my screen here
Okay.
so we can really take this all in. What a treat!
Woohoo! We're so excited. So I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to go in the kitchen, and there is Chef Walter. Let's say a big hello, Chef Walter.
Hi, Chef Walter.
And
Welcome
then he's
to Art of
gonna
the City.
go ahead, grab it. All right. So, we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Tap.
She's gonna do that.
Okay.
So, just give me an okay, and I'll start cooking, Ruth-Ann.
Yeah, we're ready for you. We're here. The viewers are excited. I've got all kinds of people live streaming in here saying, let's get on to cooking.
Just let me know when you want me to start.
Yeah, we're ready. Can you hear us? I wonder if she's having a hard time hearing us now. Can you hear us okay? Let me bring myself back up here.
So,
I'm going to give you the thumbs up.
Ruth-Ann, can you hear me? Are we good to go?
We're good to go. I don't know if you can hear us.
So, I'm going to teach you guys how to make corn. And we're going to make the corn into a mush, and we're going to do a boiled berry reduction, which I would call sort of a berry compote. And I just want to show, Walter's going to bring that camera in and show that our indigenous corn, when we take this corn right here and we grind it into a powder, we get cornmeal. And this has the whole kernel. We would just take these off and grind it into a finely ground powder. We're going to make a white corn mush today and a blue corn mush. That same corn is soaked and the skins come off. This process is called nixtamalization. We get here in New Mexico what's called play, in other parts of the country hominy, and that hominy can be ground into a powder, and we would use for tortillas and tamales. So today we're using an untreated corn. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get the berries boiling so we can have that boiling in the background. And I have some chopped apple we're using. You can use any kind of apple, guys. And we're using absolutely no sugar, okay? We want to move away from sugar and just use the natural sugar. So we're using some chopped apple, and then I'm just going to use a little apple juice concentrate, and that's going to boil down with this fruit, and that's going to give it some sweetness. So we're going to boil down, and then you can use any frozen berries. I'm using blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, and I like frozen cherries. You can use any kind of frozen berries you can get your hands on. One of my favorite ones is that has all of this together. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the apples and the apple juice and just boil that, and then I'm going to add my fruit. Okay, and this is the combo, and I'm going to put this on the back burner. Walter's going to show you right here. So we have
Oh my
apples.
gosh, that looks amazing.
We have blueberries, raspberries, and we're just going to boil this for about 20 minutes. And then I'm going to add some agave, and I'm sure all of you know agave. You can get just a very simple agave. We're going to add a little bit of that because there's no other sweetener. And then the key here to really remember is we're using unsweetened applesauce. So a lot of times the applesauce is going to say natural, all these different things, still has sugar. So unsweetened if you can get it. If you can't, you can use sweetened, but then don't add any agave. Okay, so I'm going to do my agave and let this boil in the background. And then we're going to go to making the corn mush. But I just want to show you here is one batch that I made. It's done, and you can see that beautiful color. And so that's one of the layers of our dish today.
Gorgeous.
And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do our corn mush. And this is very easy to do. What you're going to do is you're going to have, so I think we'll do white first. The white corn mush. And what you're going to do is you're going to take 1 cup of the cornmeal. And you can use a traditional stirring stick. These are from Walter's family, his grandma, and I will show you how to do that, or you can use a whisk.
Okay.
And what we want to do is we want to start with cold water and the cornmeal. Now, I'm going to add something else, and I want to tell you guys about this. We make a culinary ash from juniper. So we take the branches, and we actually take that ash and burn it. It's called wood ash. You could use wood ash. And I just have a little jar called culinary ash. And in that jar is the ash from the branches. And what's fascinating is that Native people never needed milk because this ash has tons of calcium, lots of minerals, and nutrients. So when we add the ash, and I'm going to use a teaspoon of the ash with my cornmeal, when we add the ash to the corn, we're adding all the nutrients we need and have needed for thousands of years. So you can make this yourself at home. And we actually have a YouTube channel, and we're really working on getting some videos up. So we're going to have an ash video up there. So make sure that you go online and check that out, and we can show you how to do that. So
That's terrific.
I'm going to just take this, and I'm going to take the cold water, and I'm going to mix together the ash and the corn so that I have no lumps. Okay, we're going to start with the white. And we have our base. Okay. And this has all the nutrients. It has the ash. It has the corn. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another little saucepan, and I'm going to set it right here. And I'm going to show you guys what we're going to do. So I'm going to take my cornmeal, and I want to take 2 cups of boiling water. So I have boiling water here in the background. All right, so that goes in this pan. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly add that corn mixture to the boiling water. And then I'm going to stir. And we're just going to cook this until it gets thick.
It's looking so amazing.
And this is just going to take a couple of minutes. So we'll follow through with this. And then this is our first layer. What we're going to do is we're going to get we have some cups here. And I'm going to pour the first layer into the cup. So let me move this to the back so I can show you. All right. And if I were using my stirring sticks, so these are Walter's Grandma, same thing as the whisk. So we've actually had all of our own tools for quite some time. So I'm going to take cups. This recipe makes about 15, maybe a little less depending. These are a little tall. We'll start with 12. And my cornmeal over here. So Walter's just going to come over here. You can check this out while it's cooking. We want this to reach a boil, and we just want to make it till stirring constantly until it gets nice and thick, guys. And it takes about 3 to 5 minutes to do this. And you'll start to see it get thicker and thicker. Now, because we're making a dessert, the cornmeal is very simple in its flavor. A lot of people like to make this sweet, so I'm going to add a little bit of agave to this. If you're making it for breakfast, you can do it plain. And I always add just a tiny bit of salt. So we're using a ground kosher salt mixed with some Zuni salt. Here in New Mexico, we have I trade with my Zuni friends, and we have some salt from the Zuni tribe. And Mexico naturally has salt. We have lake beds that dry, and we have salt that's on that. So here is our corn, and it's starting to get nice and thick. You can actually see it, and I'm still stirring. Let me show you with the same thing, right? You can actually, it will start to cook and turn into like a porridge, and that's what we're aiming for. There's our berries boiling in the other burner, right?
Right.
And so we just want to keep working that cornmeal until it gets nice and thick and is cooked. I like always to give it a little taste. So let's see, did I add enough sweetener to that? And the flavor of corn, you guys, it's so good. So it's just very simple. We're taking something is our ancestral food and bringing it into a modern kitchen. So this needs to cook just a little bit more, but I would really encourage you, all of you, go on the website, learn about us. We have a great cookbook out, and if you want, we'd be happy to personally autograph that cookbook for you. The cornmeal is available on the website. I was able to get it up today, so it's brand new, and excuse the pictures because it was kind of rushed. We'll go back and do some better pictures, but both the white and the blue is available. Obviously, if you buy one package, the shipping kind of is really expensive. So if you buy more than that, maybe split it with friends or get a couple of families together. The shipping ends up being a lot cheaper because we can fit more in the box, and it's a flat rate box. So take a look now. You can
I'm not
see
sure
it's
if she
starting
can
to
hear
get
me.
thick.
I don't
Look at
think
that
she can.
beautiful consistency. See that? It's going to start bubble a little. Oh yeah. Look at that. Beautiful. See it getting nice and thick? That's the corn cooking. Corn naturally thickens. And Walter, when he was growing up, his grandma would make this, and then she would put it outside, especially in the winter. And the next day it would be frozen, and you could eat it like ice cream. And so what's pretty fascinating is I did this with my students at IAIA. So I teach an indigenous food class, and they put it in the freezer too, and they loved it. It was so amazing. What they did was they ate it every week. We made tons. So here you can see nice thick. So now I'm just going to take my spoon, and I'm going to put layer number one. Okay? So you see that white corn. Look how thick almost immediately. So you have to move kind of quickly, because if you let it too long, look at that. There's the perfect
Beautiful.
consistency. Okay. And we'll just do a nice, so this is only 1 cup of cornmeal, and you can see that we got quite a big amount from that, right? And what I'm going
It
to try
looks
and do
so
is
good.
not get it on the sides, so that we have some of our art in this, and we make it beautiful. Look at that. It is gorgeous. Look at the white corn. Okay.
That looks so good.
So then the next thing we're going to do, and I already have one of the berries done. So I'm going to do a layer of berries next. Let that corn sit. That. And then I wish you guys could all come over and we could eat this. I know, Ruth-Ann, I want you to come over and eat this.
I know. I don't think she can hear me. I don't know if you
Delicious.
can hear me. I don't think she can, but
So, and you know, Walter and I are zero waste, so we won't waste this. We're going to call up, I have some elderly neighbors, and since COVID, they haven't been leaving. Everything's been delivered. So what I do is I just give them a text and go over to their mailbox, and we'll put some of these in there for our elderly neighbors, feed them so that nothing gets wasted, right? Big,
that's great.
important thing in Native ideology, Native cooking. No waste. Every that's used, nothing gets thrown in the trash, especially with our sacred foods. We bring those outside. You might want to call it compost, or putting it back to the earth, but we make sure that nothing gets wasted. So that's a really important thing to remember. All right. So here we have our first layer. So the next thing I'm going to do is get our berries, and I'm going to take, so this one's done, and I'm going to take, I'm kind of like a tablespoon size. Sometimes the big spoons are a little too big. And I'm just going to take, watch this, a layer, and that's going to be my berry layer. And that's going to go right on top of that corn.
Okay.
Walter's going to zoom in, let you guys see this. And look at that. So now we have our white corn. We have our berries. Look at that. And then the next thing we're going to do is, you could eat it just like this, guys, but we're going to make one more layer. It's going to be the blue corn. And then we're going to put that layer on top. And you could do as many layers as you want. So we actually call it Native American parfait, but of course parfait of dairy, and most Native American lactose intolerant. I know Walter doesn't do cheese. I certainly don't do well with dairy, and it's because it's not in our ancestral DNA. So we don't need it, and it doesn't really do well for most of us.
Even though she can't hear me, those are absolutely beautiful pieces of art. And we just need it to be virtual where we can start eating.
Next thing is, let's do that blue corn. So same thing. I'm going to start, take a clean bowl, cold water, the blue corn, but first I want to add that ash because that's going to bring in those ancestral nutrients. Okay, so I've got my culinary ash here. All right, and that's adding all those minerals, calcium. Then I'm going to pour that bowl, and we're going to take our whisk again and just mix that together so that we have no lumps. Okay. Making sure everything is mixed. Look at that color. Oh, we went to do an event in some other countries. Oh, Russia and Ukraine. And it was kind of funny because when we used our blue corn, everybody there said, "How do you make the corn blue?" And what's so funny is we don't make the corn blue. The corn is blue. And nobody could understand that. I made a blue corn red, and especially when we went to Guam, they just kept saying, "How do you make it blue? How do you make it blue?" Here's our corn. It's blue, it's white, it's yellow, it's red. And so that is the natural color of our corn. So now we're going to do the blue. Same thing. I'm going to pour that into the boiling water. And we're going to mix it. Look at that beautiful color, guys.
So beautiful.
Oh my gosh. Right?
Yes.
So there's with our whisk. Same thing. We can do it with our stirring stick. Bring in those ancestors when we cook. We really want to make sure that we have the love of our ancestors in everything we do.
Yes,
sometimes
absolutely.
Walter and I joke to see whose grandma's going in this dish, because one of our grandmas is going in that. And all of us have, why does our food taste so good of our grandmas? And I had two grandmas, totally different ethnicities. But they said the same thing. And the one thing that they said is that the reason their food tasted so good is because they loved us grandmas so much that when they cooked, all the love poured into what they were doing, and they were feeding us sort of that non-tangible essence, that amazing love that they had. So something important, a lot of people say don't cook when you're angry, be very careful, right? Because that goes into the food too. And so we really want to work on keeping things filled with love and light and happy, because that is a part of who we are and what we do. So again, I'm going to add just a little bit of agave to this one too, because we're making a dessert. All right.
Even though she can't hear me, I can see you folks are all absolutely
Look at that
loving
color,
this.
you guys. Amazing. That deep, beautiful blue. Wow. See, nice and thick. See that? So
It's
what
like
we're going to
painting
do
with food.
now is we're going to take our corn and same thing. I'm going to take my blue corn and I'm going to add another layer. So come look at the cups. All right, see that nice thick corn? Wow.
Beautiful.
Okay. And you can see those pretty layers. So we're really making layers of art and layers of wisdom into this little dish. And of course, I buy this corn from a native owned farm. It's called Temaya, which is here in New Mexico. And so we're buying native. This is native grown corn, and then we're using native. That native corn is then what I'm selling on the website. And so we're really keeping the circle going, buying native, promoting native, using native, eating native foods. And this is not only healthy, but it's so nutritious and delicious. And so you can eat it warm. We could eat this right away when we're done. Look at those layers. Ooh, that's a pretty
Beautiful.
one. And our blue corn, you can see that deep blue color. That's from the ash. Okay.
It's almost
So
sculptural in the way she's creating it too.
And then I'll show you, we're going to do just one more thing. We're going to add some pecans. That's a great garnish. And the pecans are actually native. I don't know how many of you know this. The word pecan actually comes from the Algonquin language, so East Coast tribes. And it actually means a nut that the crows could break. And so it was actually the crows that broke those nuts, flew, dropped it, and now the pecan is the #1 nut crop here in the state of New Mexico, in the millions and millions and millions of dollars. So it's our #1 nut crop, and very important. And of course, it is. So I have some toasted pecans, which we're going to use, and I also have some fresh mint from my garden. I don't know if you guys have a garden, but even if you live in a hut, you can only grow one thing. You can grow a pot of mint. You could use that in the dishes that you make. So don't be afraid to do a little patio. And then last but not least, we're going to add our last layer of the boiled berries. And we have those apples in there. We have, usually I like to let this sit because it'll thicken as it sits. But let's just show you a couple of these. So here we're going to put, oh, that one's pretty, Walter. Look at that. Let's do another really pretty one, guys. So same thing, we're going to put those berries off. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to take some of our pecans and these are toasted. So what I did was I chopped and toasted these. Oh boy, look at that.
Wow, that looks so good.
Amazing. So here we have white corn berries, blue corn berries, some chopped nuts. Let's do one more layer here, more pretty. And oh, look at that. Ooh, that one's really
my gosh,
pretty.
that looks so good.
And so what we have is some nuts, and then what we would do is just garnish with a piece of mint. Oh my gosh. And
Beautiful.
then what you could also just some apple slices, right?
Okay.
And we can do some pretty slices, maybe of apple, right? And then we can put this in as a garnish as well. And then we have something that is really healthy. It's beautiful. Let's do, do a single apple if you want. Look at that pretty mint from the garden, right? And we, in just, gosh, not even a half hour, right? Because we were talking, we made something that is very traditional and very beautiful and amazing. So I'm going to stop there and go in, and Ruth-Ann and I can talk a little bit more. Walter, you can't eat all these while I'm in the other room, okay? But we take a look at what we did. The recipe, Ruth-Ann is going to post as well as a photo, right?
Yes,
so
I will.
One more look at that beautiful, beautiful parfait, very traditional and chock full of nutrients and ingredients that you have access to for using some of our Native American ancestral foods. So what we like to say here at Red Mesa, we do ancestral foods with a modern twist. So you can see there's our modern twist. It's in a hard plastic. You could put it in glass, right? In the freezer, it can go in the refrigerator. You can eat it now. And so pretty amazing.
So beautiful.
So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Ruth-Ann.
Okay, perfect.
Let's get our
and come back in, and I'll have
the
you come back
here.
In. Okay, perfect. We'll see if we can get her audio working too, because can you hear me? I think her audio went out, but because I wanted to comment along the way, along that beautiful journey. You know, what's so amazing is that we think about art being, you know, painting, sculpture, or something tangible, but the culinary arts, it really makes such a difference how food is presented. And I think that is one of, besides the fact that she's just bringing in the deliciousness of, can you hear me now? Okay, I'm going to bring you back into the stream. I was just saying your audio went out during your cooking, and I so wanted to just be there cheering you on because your presentation, it's just so amazing. All of everything we learned along the journey of you creating this beautiful composition, if you will, within, I mean, just beautiful. But the other thing I was just sharing is, you know, with the culinary arts, besides the history and the tradition and bringing the ancestors in, your presentation at the end is like a masterpiece.
And you know, thank you to Walter, because him being a chef, he knows what he wants to zoom in on and let you guys see, you know, how it's boiling, what it looks like. So really important, you know, to have someone who knows what they're doing, the filming, and he did a great job. So thank you, Chef Walter. Yeah.
Thank you, Chef Walter. Now, Chef Walter, if you could just come up with a way to transport that virtually through to our screen so we could take a little bite out of it.
Yeah, there you go.
So you know he's going to go in the back and eat that corn mush that's ready. So
well, I don't blame him. So I wanted to just ask you, going back to the ash.
Sure.
I have never heard of that. And how do we find that? Because in this time period, we always want to be healthy. Right. But that seems like almost one of a traditional secret to health. Right. How do we find that?
So I actually Googled culinary ash and it came up on Etsy, and there's a couple of grandmas on the res who are selling their ash. So you can buy it in like 1 ounce, 2 ounce jars. Some of them are selling it with the cornmeal. I don't have any ash to sell now. We will make some. You can also, there's some videos on how to make it, which is just burning the branches. You want those branches or that wood to reach the white part. And then we just
Okay.
push it through a strainer. And that wood ash has all, I mean, oh gosh, tons of minerals and nutrients and lots of calcium. And that's why we never need a dairy. I don't know about you, Ruth-Ann, but I do not do well with dairy.
I
It's
don't
just,
do well with dairy at all. And we also, in our tradition, we did not have dairy,
no, we
you
didn't either.
know, but we also didn't have corn
Right,
because
I
we're a
know.
West Coast tribe. What we did have is acorn, and we still make We Wish.
Sure.
And I think I was telling you,
You
that
were.
it kind of has a bitter flavor to it, the acorn. So you really need to infuse it with something that, is palatable, because by itself, it's definitely one of those things that you have to kind of get used to. And my
So
dad,
maybe
yeah,
you
go ahead.
guys, yeah, you guys could try it with the boiled berries.
I think that would be a really great idea. And that was what I was thinking when you were making that. But that not only did it look like it was really tasty, your presentation, I think, wow, I mean, you really have a good eye for texture and color, because I come from the art background, not culinary arts, and you just made a masterpiece there.
Well, we make this a lot. We love to make it. It's a great dish. So you could technically, for a feast or a ceremony or a celebration, you could make hundreds of those cups and just refrigerate them or leave them out and then bring them to the event and let people take them and eat them.
It's a great idea. And I was thinking when you were doing your cooking demonstration that we definitely need to have a native food network. And I think
Oh,
you would be perfect on that. So,
well, if you want to start it, I'll partner with you and we'll do something
okay.
together. Yeah.
Well, I've got a gal watching, Allison. We better not give her that idea, because, she'll be off to the races with it. But let's talk about now, how can we get your cookbook? Is it on your website? We just order it there?
Yep. So it's on the website. And this is a picture of, so it has lots of recipes, traditional recipes. Um, and it's actually a great book. That's the one that won the James Beard Award. And then there is another one called The Taco Table. And this little book, it's very inexpensive. All the money benefits the Western National Parks Association. So parks on the West. And my agreement with them is that instead of any royalties, the money funnels back into those parks so that they can work with the restaurants, like for instance in the Grand Canyon or Mesa Verde, to source
Right?
local foods. So instead of eating Maryland crab cakes in the Grand Canyon, you can eat locally raised Navajo churro lamb or piki bread from the Hopi ladies. And so it's really important that we start to buy locally sourced, from those areas. So when people go to those areas, they get to learn about that. And then there's also a bean book, beans, not only native, but so nutritious. I call it sustenance in a pod. And then a little
Right?
chili book. And in my research, so I'm sort of an anomaly because I have a PhD in culinary anthropology, and my doctorate was or is called The Discourse and Practice of Native American Cuisine, Native American Cooks and Native American Chefs. So both genders, right? Female, male.
Right?
And cooks being maybe they're not professional in contemporary Southwest kitchens. So I spent 11 years researching what is Native cuisine, how did it evolve, what are the time periods, right? We have time periods. And there's actually
Right?
four. So pre contact, so not contact with each other because we know we traded. I mean, there's
Right?
abalone shells here in New Mexico, so we traded with tribes that had access to that. There's
Right?
chocolate in Chaco Canyon, so we know that tribes walk that up. So lots of trading going on amongst tribes and some really incredible, impressive ancestral trade routes. So pre-contact,
Right.
first contact, that's when Europeans come over. We're speaking English, so we know the English had a big, profound effect. Here in the Southwest, the Spanish, California, the Spanish. So
Right.
they brought stuff with them, including all those domesticated animals and
Mhm.
all the dairy that comes with them. And the reason we never had dairy is, I don't know, could you milk a wild deer or a wild elk or a moose or a
Right.
bison? There's no way. There's no way we could get close enough to the wild animal to milk it. So no butter, no cheese, no milk, no
And
ice
we
cream.
didn't need it
We
on
didn't
top
need
of
it.
that.
We had all these other foods. Our diet was
Right.
just so first contact, pre-contact, and then government issue. And government issue is not only the most problematic, but the most painful.
Yes.
And we're still emerging from that historical trauma of relocation, losing our language in some instances, losing our food base, our land base, our hunting base, agriculture, and then the government, consistent as it is, uh, distributed foods, lard, flour, sugar,
Mhm.
coffee,
Yes.
the infamous
Spam.
spam. I was getting there. Oh yeah, infamous canned meat, and that's
Canned salmon. That was one of the specialties that my grandmother, she always bartered with everybody else because she had these specialty dishes she could do with the canned salmon.
yeah. So that the white can with the black writing, right?
Yep.
And so, yes, those foods were distributed, changing our diet,
Hmm.
and that's where fry bread was born. So fry bread is interesting because it has a dual history, right? It's the food, a survival food of the elders.
Right.
They would have perished. Thank goodness they were creative enough to come up with it, and then the Indian taco from there. But also,
Right.
it does represent a period in history that was a very sad period of the long walk, the trail of tears, relocation, my tribe, many tribes. If you weren't relocated, then your land base shrunk, right?
Right.
So even on
Or
the
you
Great
were
Plains,
moved from,
yes,
you were, relocated into a new land base that you had never really traversed before.
right. And so we lost a lot, and that's where we're recovering. And then now, the this is the most exciting. We're in what we Walter and I call from our research the new Native American cuisine, and it's up to each community, each tribe, uh, to decide what makes up their Native American cuisine. So you could
Right.
do the Native American parfait. That's the contemporary version. That's new native, right? Based on old.
Right.
We do no fry bread. We don't want to fry it anymore. We do modern versions of the Indian taco. We do, marinated elk, where we've marinated it with a spice rub as well as pine branches, so you get the essence of the pine in there. Choke cherry reductions. I mean, there's a million and one things, and so the new native is really about going to back to the past and revitalizing, reinvigorating, maybe replating. You said, look at that art, making it beautiful, and we are artists. We definitely
Yes.
we eat with our eyes. We want beauty, and so tomorrow at 4 o'clock, New Mexico time, I'm going to do a live class with Walter at the Santa Fe School of Cooking. And so
Okay.
if anybody out there wants to sign up for that class, it's $20, so it's really reasonable. We're going to do a grilled quail with a chili honey glaze. We're going to do wild rice from Minnesota. We're buying actually from nativeharvest.org. So that's Winona LaDuke's organization, nonprofit that she started. And we're going to do a wild rice saute. And then we're going to do some greens. So we're going to have greens, wild rice, and some beautiful quail.
Now,
And
are you
so
going to have a virtual platform as well for people who are not there in Santa Fe?
Yes, this is a live class. They'll be able to come on and either cook with us
Okay, got it.
or follow along. And it's at Santa Fe School of Cooking.com.
Okay.
And you would go under online classes, and then I think it's live Yeah.
And if you send me the link, I'll put the link on this Facebook stream. I did have a question for you though, because I'm just mesmerized with your wealth of knowledge, and that you've taken years of your life to do the research that you have in order to educate people. And I get the goosebumps over it, because it's right up my alley when it comes to being a Native woman and trying to grasp for my own history. I mean, fortunately, my family's still on the reservation, and I had a lot of exposure to tradition. But even in that, there's still been a lot lost. But let's just talk about the viewer that's watching that is not Native. We have a lot of Native viewers. We have a lot of non-Natives.
Sure.
But people who are aware of the importance of looking at the planet and looking at health and looking at how they can support local. What would you suggest? Let's just say, you're a non-Native and you're a city slicker. You've grown up in the city, and now you're thinking, boy, I'd really like to be involved in giving back to the planet. What tips could you give somebody on a very practical level?
Excellent. So my philosophy is inclusive. Obviously, I'm Sephardic Jewish on my dad's side. So there's, my dad immigrated, so he's not from this Turtle Island here in the United States. And so there's, the inclusive is, my mom always said, 4 colors of corn, 4 colors on the medicine wheel, 4 races of man, circle. And we all need to work together. And so absolutely, it's open to everyone. There's room for everybody. It's all inclusive. You could go on nativeharvest.org and buy wild rice. You could go on my website and buy native corn. You could go to madeinnewmexico.com and buy local native ingredients from native people. And so there's room for everybody. And when you buy something that's native grown, native processed, native sold, you perpetuate and you support those entities and organizations, and allow most of us to continue to either farm on our indigenous lands or gather or harvest, like the little grandma on Etsy who's selling ash. Who knows where that grandma is, but you could go on Etsy and buy culinary ash, and that supports, I can guarantee you, that supports that grandma, and that's how she's able to stay on her land and just keep making ash. And that way it perpetuates the knowledge, it perpetuates, and good for grandma. She's on Etsy. I was like, yes. And so there's room for everyone. And the more people that go on and support buying cookbooks and buying corn and buying rice and buying the ash, we're perpetuating and allowing us to each continue to do what we do and what we love. So absolutely, all colors, all ages, all sizes, all nations, room for everybody, and it is all inclusive. You can absolutely support and help native-run organizations and native food harvesters, native purveyors, native products, etc. Yeah, great question.
I just love it.
So
well, thank you so much for blessing the world with the sustenance that you bring. Food is our life source, and you are taking all of your knowledge and you're bringing it into a place where our ancestors would really be able to be honored. And you're showing that through your cooking. And I think that, we could spend another hour here with you easily on this show. But, folks, make sure you go out and, let's support the effort here. You're doing such a great job. Now, what's the best place for folks to follow you on Facebook, Instagram, any of the social media platforms?
Red Mesa Cuisine has a page on Facebook. Absolutely. We also have Instagram, and then we have a YouTube channel. I think I only have 1 subscriber, so I've got to kind of
okay. We got to up the numbers there.
It's brand new, and we just launched it. So last time I looked, maybe there's 2 subscribers, and one is Tidra Bigay, who actually helped me set up the YouTube channel. So she subscribed, and she's the only one. So we're working on that.
I'll be your second subscriber today for sure. I'm just making sure that we have redmesacuisine.com.
That is correct.
Streaming here. So folks, check out the website and then go join the YouTube channel, and then also follow her on social media. This is a person, folks, you want to not only follow, but you want to share what she's providing to the world through her good medicine, which is the food that she is bringing here literally to the world. So we just appreciate you so much. And thank you so much for coming on the show. And this too will be on YouTube later. So I'll send you.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, everybody out there. And if you missed it, they can see it later. And what an honor. Indian Market has gone virtual this year. Thanks so much for joining and watching and being a part of it. There's lots of amazing Native artists. And Ruth-Ann, thank you so much for having myself and Chef Walter. We're just so honored and feel so blessed. So
thank you. It's my honor to have you guys on here, and I feel humbled when I hear what you're doing. So keep up the good work, and when I get to Santa Fe, you're going to be my first stop.
Yay!
Okay, be blessed, my friend. I'll see you again soon, I'm sure.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye-bye. It was such a great cooking demonstration, and I wish sometimes our audio visual were working in unison. But folks, if you get a chance, please go. Let's up her YouTube channel. And while you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to our channel, Art of the City TV. You're going to see I put together a list there of everybody who is coming in for Indian Market. So you can see we've got a playlist there. If you missed any of the shows, definitely come back to that. Friday, we have Roxanne Swensel. You want to see this woman sculpt. She is one of the powerhouses in the art world, but she comes right out of one of the pueblos in Santa Fe. Just salt of the earth, an incredible woman. I've had a couple of opportunities to meet with her and do a live in-depth interview. Long show today. Be well, be blessed. Keep spreading love and light out there. We are in a time that we need it more than ever. And I know you know that, and that's why we're doing this. There will be creatives coming in from Indian country for the entire month of August. So make sure you tune in Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 4 p.m. live streaming right here Pacific Coast time. So you kind of have to figure out where you're at and put it on your calendar. Have a great day, folks, and I'll see you on Friday right here, Art of the City.